The UK says it is ready to impose further sanctions on Russia. On Tuesday, it announced 5 Russian banks and 3 oligarch billionaires would be sanctioned over Moscow's actions in eastern Ukraine. But even some in Prime Minister Boris Johnson's own Conservative Party say those measures don't go far enough. The opposition Labour Party is questioning whether it's related to millions of pounds in donations to the Conservatives by wealthy Russian donors, something the government flatly denies. Foreign Secretary Liz Truss says more sanctions are already prepared and could be imposed imminently, and that work on the first tranche was carried out in coordination with Western allies. Boris Johnson is likely to be pushed on the matter further in his weekly Prime Minister's Questions session, which starts in minutes from now in Westminster. Well, in the meantime, we're joined by our correspondent Laura Makin-Isherwood, who's joining me live from London. And Laura, the UK government had always said that it had sanctions ready to go in the event of a Russian invasion of Ukraine. But are we clear if the UK government thinks an invasion has actually begun or not?
Well, that's a very good question, because yesterday, of course, we heard from the Health Secretary Sajid Javid on television here in the United Kingdom saying that an invasion had begun. We heard from the Prime Minister yesterday as well in Parliament as he set out those sanctions that the UK was imposing on Russia, saying that the West needed to steel itself for further potential action and possibly a war with Ukraine, between Russia and Ukraine. And yet today, the Foreign Secretary Liz Truss seems to be rowing back a little. She said, we don't have evidence that Vladimir Putin has yet invaded. We haven't seen yet a full-scale invasion. And she also said, we've not got evidence yet that Russian troops are in Donbass. So that, of course, is a confusing message. There are journalists on the ground in Ukraine looking at those regions. Some are reporting that there has been an increase in shelling, but of course there has been conflict in a number of those contested areas for a number of years. So the UK government clearly looking for more intelligence from the ground there to work out exactly what is going on before it moves forward. A state of emergency is understood to be set to be declared in Ukraine, though, after a Security Council meeting there. That would last for around 30 days, but it needs to be signed off by Parliament first before that can happen. And also Ukraine nationals living in Russia now have been advised to leave Russia too. So clearly Ukraine is expecting an escalation of tensions moving forward. But obviously nations around the world, and particularly in the West, are trying to get more intelligence before pushing any further sanctions.
Well, on that threat of further sanctions from the UK, if we got to that point, what might we be looking at?
Well, we understand that the government, the UK government, is looking at potentially targeting more businesses, more individuals, more companies that are tied up within the UK and also around the world as well. Yesterday, we heard from the Prime Minister Boris Johnson that the UK was sanctioning 5 Russian banks, 3 high net worth individuals. But those plans came under fire from Boris Johnson's own Conservative MPs, plenty saying that they didn't go far enough. And those 5 banks that were sanctioned had actually been under sanctions from the United States for a number of years already. So we now know that after that protest from Boris Johnson's own party and opposition MPs, of course, weighing in on that too, the government is considering more. One of the proposals reported to be on the table is trying to reduce the availability of things like microchips and high worth electronic goods as well being exported around the world. If there is a Russian component within those goods, then it's possible that those could be banned from being exported or imported. And we understand that the government may potentially be looking at working with allies as well to prevent those goods moving around the world into other countries, much like the restrictions that were placed on Huawei when there was concerns about competition of Huawei microchips and elements used by that company then. But we are, of course, waiting for further information from the Prime Minister on this, and he is expected in Parliament shortly for Prime Minister's questions, so there will be plenty watching there to see if MPs press him on this matter.
Yeah, thanks, Laura. And reports in the UK today that the Prime Minister might be about to unveil some further support for Ukraine's military in the form of extra defensive weapons, which the UK has already sent quite a lot of to Kiev. Thanks for that, Laura. And as you say, Prime Minister's Questions gets underway shortly, so we may get some more info soon.